Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the Evan Here's Culture campaign. Today I have two incredible guests on the program.
Where are they?
Two members of the amazing New Jersey band that's just tearing up the charts, Kid Smoko. We have Matt Salort and Sam Berkley on the
charts.
On the show. How are you, gentlemen?
I'm doing fantastic.
I'm doing well.
We actually just ate some veggie burgers with some homemade fries.
Amazing. Well, I'm glad you're in good spirits and well fed, because today we're going to be talking about JPEGMAFIA's 2018 album, Veteran. And I have to say this is interesting because in the few guest episodes we've done, I've always liked the album. And this might be the first album.
I mentioned that this would be a possibility. I said, Sam, knowing Evan as well as I do, he's not going to like that. I have a feeling he's not going to like that.
I was warned of the possibility.
No, I listened to it 3 times, and I liked it a little bit more each time, but I wouldn't say it really clicked with me, or I'm interested in listening to it again. So this is why I'm excited to talk to you guys, because I'm excited to hear why it's good, or why here's some of the reasons. And
I mean, just thinking about the album now, it has my blood boiling.
Literally,
I could run through a wall right now.
Someone says the word veteran, my heart immediately just races. Like, even if it's in the context of the military, they don't mean JPEG, I immediately associate it with JPEG, and I immediately, like, I'm starting, I sweat, I'm just like
I've been anti-military for most of my life. But when it comes to veteran, it makes me want to sign up. Like, it's one of the best recruitment tools that I've ever witnessed.
I wish that was a quote on the.
Yeah, like if I could join the military and it would turn me into JPEGMAFIA, why would I not do that? Why wouldn't I do that?
Okay, so just as like a baseline, like how did you guys become familiar with JPEGMAFIA, and why is Veteran an album that you have connected with?
Well, so I discovered it, because like I had always heard it being like talked about on like Fantano. Fantano was a big JPEG pusher, even pre-Veteran. But then I heard Baby I'm Bleeding, which is one of the songs on Veteran on SoundCloud. And I was like, this is the most incredible thing I've ever heard in my entire life. I was like, this is music. Because also I feel like I found JPEG at a time where my interest in rap was kind of like floundering a little bit. Like my interest in rap was like it was not the primary genre I was listening to, whereas it had been in certain periods of my life. But JPEG is one of those few artists that like he's like, okay, like hip hop, there's still
pulled you back in.
Yeah, absolutely.
I had a very similar experience actually. A fellow bandmate, Michael, who we were talking about earlier, he showed me Baby I'm Bleeding as well. That was the first time I had ever heard a single song by this guy. And this was definitely at a time where I wasn't listening to a ton of rap artists that are like currently popular, I guess. And it like literally became the only album I would listen to from the hip hop genre for a while. Not to mention just literally exclusively the album anyway. I would literally listen to that album. Like I'd wake up in the morning at school and I'd listen to it in the shower and on the way to class. And then I would listen to it at the end of the night before I went to bed. Like I was listening to that album like 2 times a day for probably like a month plus. It was probably unhealthy looking back at it. I was a very aggressive energy, like always at all times. But it kept me on my toes, so I can't complain.
And were you listening to the whole 19 tracks, or just part?
I would skip a couple songs in the middle, maybe, but like I also, for the most part, would just go shoot it all the way through.
There's definitely certain tracks that I've listened to significantly more times than others.
Absolutely.
Like off the top of my head, probably Rock and Roll is Dead is one of my favorites. Thug Tears.
Whole Foods.
Yeah, Real N. Calvert's also a great track. Baby I'm Bleeding. Can't Fucking Wait Till Morrissey Dies.
That was probably, conceptually, that was my favorite track. Just the idea that there was a Morrissey diss track on this album.
It's amazing. Incredible. It's beautiful.
Literally, we were talking about this. The first line on the whole album is a Drake diss.
I need all my bitches same color as Drake.
I wish there was more on the Morrissey track specifically. I wish there was more actual direct Morrissey attacks.
I would fully wish there was more as well. There's never a bad time to attack Morrissey. So
okay, so I'm gonna say something that I'm sure will just have your blood boiling, as you were saying. This album to me sounded as though I was in my basement and everything was breaking. Like it was flooding in my basement and the furnace was going off and the air conditioning was busting down and the Wi-Fi router was like overloading.
Oh my God. It's kind of music, it's kind of music you want to listen to when you're like trapped in a trunk. And it's like, oh my God. It's when you're going to kick a hole through the car.
Yeah, like there's definitely, I won't lie, there's definitely like somewhat correct times to listen to the album. You can't really just kind of like sit around listening to it because like we were talking about this before. The first song, North Calvert, it's very accessible and it's like an easy rap song to listen to. And almost immediately the second song, Real End, it's like a crazy switch, like a roller coaster ride. You're like at the top and all of a sudden you drop off and you're like, you have no idea what's going on anymore. So the album's got a lot of that like heavy industrial metallic, just noisy, nutty, like overloaded Wi-Fi router type sounds. So like you got to be in the zone because it's going to transport you someplace else if you're not.
I think one thing is like, since we're also kind of into music that just uses metallic noises in general, so that's sort of like very much like if you're into the hyper pop, so to speak,
like Charlie X
sound, any A.G. Cook sort of endeavor, you'll be big into the
I honestly wasn't even Matt. I wasn't even initially too keen on it. It took me a little bit to get used to it, listening through the whole album, because at first I was like, okay, I like a handful of these songs, but there was a lot of just crazy, weird, distorted stuff that I was not on board with. But the more I listened to it in the context of the rest of the album, I was like, oh my God, this is amazing. Like this man is an evil genius. Like,
yeah, he's a pure genius.
He's a crazy person.
He's a crazy man and he's a beautiful man.
If there's one thing that I've connected with, it's a lot of geeky shit.
Oh yeah,
on this album.
So many wrestling references.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, Ratchet and Clank was brought up at one point. Yeah. A bunch of N64 games.
Yeah, he always references video games. Did you like the last song on there, Rainbow Six? That song was great. The last song on the album.
Yeah, I think the last song is Curb Stomp.
Yeah, Curb Stomp, right.
But Rainbow Six was definitely one of the ones that I was like, oh, this is good. This is good. My
you want to see him live when Corona's not a thing, because that'll also change your perspective on his music, because it's way more immersive and it's already crazy sounding, but when you like watch him like act it out and you see his energy, it's like literally infectious. You know, like it brings the music to life, and there's already a lot of life in the music to begin with just because of all the craziness.
Yeah, there's nobody.
I did watch a few of the music videos, and I was like, okay, I like this guy. Seems really cool.
Oh, I would say, Matt, honestly, the two of us almost have as much love for him, the human being, as we do for the music. That's half of the draw when it comes to him, is just like we both like want to meet him so bad, but like also would have no clue how to act in that scenario whatsoever, or at least me personally. I would be dumbfounded.
You'd break down.
Yeah, be like, I'm like, what am I even supposed to say to this man? Like,
because we're clearly we're representative of the opposition in his raps.
Yeah,
you know, he's talking about, you know, white boy better put his hands up.
Yeah,
which has a very adverse effect on me. It makes me so hyped.
Mm-hmm.
It makes me want to fucking throw my head through a wall. Whenever he's talking about white boys,
you sort of get off on him dissing you.
Yes.
100%. Yes,
absolutely.
Because it's also just a bold thing that he really just generally does not care at all about like what the media or commenters like have to say. Like he literally raps like the bloggers could come fight me.
He talks about bloggers.
He literally says like bloggers come fight me. I don't care.
There is a fuck pitchfork line.
Yeah.
On here, which is what everything in this show is premised on.
Yeah.
And he album got a 7.7, which seems to be the default Pitchfork score from what
I think they were afraid to give it what it's really worth, which is a 10.
It's 10 out of 10.
They were scared.
Yeah, they were too. They were
scared.
I mean, you got a guy a veteran rapping that he'll probably kill you, and he's probably right that he would kill you in hand-to-hand combat. They're not going to give him a high ranking after that because they know.
No way.
You know, Alphonse Pierre, whatever the guy's name is, he's probably shaking in his boots listening to that album. There's no way he's going to give it a 10. You know,
but they can't give it a low score because then he'll find them.
Exactly.
Their house.
They're trapped in this purgatory of
7.7.
Yeah.
So, you've mentioned some of your favorite tracks, some of the favorite songs. What are the best lines shows.
I like.
Oh
Can we
my
curse?
God.
Because I was trying to hold back from
Sure,
that.
sure.
Okay, but there's one line I like. I can't even say this one anyway.
I mean, kids aren't watching this show because nobody's watching this show. So
That'll change after this.
Yeah,
Trust
this
me.
is this episode's gonna turn
This
the
is
ratings
the
around.
spark plug that we needed.
Absolutely.
But there's one line I like on Whole Foods a lot. He says, "Cause MF's preaching about the pussy be the biggest douches," and it just makes me laugh every time I hear it. Cause like I just think of kids in my life who I've heard preaching about the pussy, and they were all fucking douches. So it's like, but I also just like he has a ton of WWE references in there.
God,
He talks
there's
about
so many good
talks about the
lines.
Hardy Brothers, a lot of the '90s stuff. Even on the new album, he talks about a lot of that, and I eat it up like every time. Like, got so many styles, they should call me Peggy AJ.
Yeah.
Like, that's an absolute fucking bar. Like,
Just come here. Like I work for Midway. Fuck
he's something else.
So,
Oh my
so
god. Double on my entree. I'm the new Beyonce.
Yeah, Beyonce.
I'm like this. Like I don't know. This man is just a god.
He said,
and he believes it all, right?
Oh
yeah, he does.
And that's
knows.
what's endearing about it is that he thinks he's the new Beyonce.
Oh yeah, no,
my
he
God,
knows it. He knows it.
But he's
Oh
not. He's not trolling to any extent, or
Say it again.
would you say he's trolling to any extent, or?
Yeah,
Yeah, 100%.
for sure.
Yeah, there's interviews where he talks about like his first shows, and he was performing in Alabama, and he was performing for like a bunch of white biker old dudes that were absolutely not receptive to his sound at all. So he started wearing a Confederate flag with him on stage,
Oh my god.
and was like stomping it, and he said he nearly got into fights, but he never did. But you know, that's the sort of man he is. That's the sort of dude
Alright.
he is.
I just thought of probably the best line. Chopper built like Lena Dunham. When I shoot, I don't miss.
AR built like Lena Dunham.
AR built like Lena Dunham. When I shoot, I don't miss. That
Never be singing in cars. Never be
legitimately
changing the pitch.
throughout the entirety of rap that I have listened to personally, just myself, that is the single best bar I think I've probably ever heard. Like just like who even says stuff like that? Who even thinks of things like that to say? Who's comparing their guns to Lena Dunham? Like it doesn't even make sense. Like why would you even do that?
The real A to C kind
Yeah.
of jumps.
Exactly. It's just like who even makes these kinds of leaps?
He also his references are impeccable. Like
every time.
the thing is like people don't do references like he does references.
That was maybe my like what I would like to investigate more, like on going back and looking at it again. Is like I got the geek sort of references, but I didn't always get the double meanings. Like I was looking some stuff up. Like there was a line that I really liked about he was talking about how he was the Superman of his town. And he says, you know, Smallville fucking with the Kents. And I'm like, okay, it's Clark Kent. I know Jonathan Martha Kent. I was like, what's this all about? What's the clever part? I was looking it up, and it's like, oh, Kent County, Baltimore. All right, now I know.
He also just says a lot, you know, like he covers
yeah.
so many topics throughout the course of an album. Like
And even a song.
Exactly. Even in the span of one song, he will drop references to like pretty much any pop culture thing you can think of off the top of your head in the last like 30 years. It was just like absurd. Like you really do have to go look. Like I had to look at a ton of the lyrics on Rap Genius to be like fully sure of what he was saying. And then there was layers on top that I didn't even think of. Like
fake news, we impressed. It's just take down.
we got to talk about that song particularly, just the pure like vocal acrobatics on Thug Tears. Like he's screaming, he's whispering, he's like singing, like all in the same song, right?
With dynamics.
Yodeling.
Yeah, he's like, it's just absurd. The man is.
That's something else.
His brain is like functioning on an entirely different wavelength.
Yeah. You have successfully convinced me that I've potentially underrated.
This is what I wanted to do.
That was the goal from the beginning.
This was the aim. Oh yes.
Our enthusiasm
is a really specific. Do you remember that Zero Dark 30 trailer where they would go, "You really believe the story of Osama bin Laden?" And they said, "Yeah, what convinced you?" And he'd go, "Her confidence."
Zero Dark Peggy. That's what we're here for.
That's exactly what we're here for.
Kid Smoko, tearing up the scene. Do you guys have anything to plug?
Well, we got a single coming out August.
Yes.
I don't know if we can say.
It's coming out at some point
in August.
All right. Well, that's very exciting. I guess I'll end on that note. Well, thank you guys for being a part of this.
Thank you for having us.
Having us.
It was our pleasure. This was a hoot.